Hi, I'm Kira, a transgender woman who shares my experience of transitioning from male to female. In this video, I'm starting a long series where I will share in detail my story, how I realized I'm a transgender woman, the signs of gender dysphoria I experienced in my childhood, how I tried to deny and fight it, and how I navigated through my transition. I will not only tell you about my own experience as someone who transitioned, but also I will share my perspective as a psychologist and counselor in gender care. This series will be a deep personal story, supported by theory, research, and scientific facts. These videos will be helpful not only for transgender people to better understand themselves, but also for parents whose kids are struggling with gender dysphoria. You should not take my experience as the only right path or guidance for your journey, but it can offer a different perspective and help you avoid some of the mistakes that I made. Creating these videos takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. I share my journey and professional insights because I'm passionate about helping others navigate their paths. Right now my channel isn't monetized, so everything I do here is completely free. If you find value in my content, want to support my work, or simply say thank you, consider donating to me on buymeacoffee.com. It's a small way to help me continue creating these videos and covering the costs involved. You will find the link in the description below, and every little bit truly means the world to me. Whether you donate or just watch and share my videos, I'm deeply grateful for your support. We often try to find the reasons behind the things that happened to us in adulthood by looking deeply back into our childhood. When I realized I was a transgender woman at the age of 31, I started searching for the reasons. Why did it happen? Were there signs I had missed? Why me? Could things have been different? Why did it take me so long to understand myself? So many questions came to my mind all at once. I already knew about diagnosis and treatment of gender dysphoria, about brain development of embryos, and about societal impact on gender identity. But this was only a theory. Reading a scientific study or book is one thing, but realizing that you're the subject of this research and this book was reading about people like you is entirely different. Scientific research uses neutral terminology and numbers from surveys and experiments. But I'm a unique person. My story isn't part of their statistics. No one asked me about my experience. I hadn't participated in any research, so I wondered, had the experts missed something? Were gender studies not applicable to me? Was there anything hidden in my childhood that could explain everything? I clearly remember one day when I was 4 years old. I loved playing with clothes. I enjoyed imagining how they would look on me, and even envisioned some designs, mostly feminine ones. I already understood that boys and girls wore different outfits, but I didn't see anything wrong in being interested in feminine designs. To bring my ideas to life, I used everything I could find: pieces of fabric, scarves, pillowcases. That day I made a swimsuit out of a plastic bag. I was happily playing when the door suddenly opened. There stood my grandfather with my mom behind him. The sound of the door and his dismissive look scared me. Then he said, "What the hell are you doing?" It was the first time when I experienced shame for being different, for not meeting expectations, and for doing something forbidden. That day was also the first time when I realized how important it is to have an ally. It was my grandma who stood up for me. She told my grandfather not to embarrass me, and said that I was just playing and hadn't done anything wrong. During my childhood, my grandmother was the person who made me feel safe and supported. Decades later, she was the first person I called to say, "Grandma, I'm a transgender woman, I'm transitioning, and my name is Kira." After my father passed away, I was mostly raised by my mom. Her main goal at that time was to raise me as a good boy and eventually a worthy man. I had met all too necessary characteristics to be raised as a boy. I was born in a male body, and my birth certificate had letter M in the gender section. I was never directly told, "Boys don't cry," but I knew that I shouldn't. It wasn't right, and it was shameful. Emotions were only acceptable if they were moderate or positive ones, and there could be no signs of weakness. Boys couldn't show that. There were no moral lessons in my childhood about how I should behave. No one sat me down and said, "You should do this and don't do that," because it was unnecessary. When you grow up in a family where behavior is gendered, you learn this model and believe it's the only right way. In this model, there were men and women. The man earned money, provided his family, made all important decisions, and took responsibility. The woman took care of the house and kids and followed the man. Men loved women, women loved men. It was clear, simple, and straightforward. No other thoughts or deviations were accepted. Back then, there were no public discussions about gender incongruence, dysphoria, transgender transitioning, or identities. Everything was simplified to primary and secondary sexual characteristics, sex assigned at birth, and strict beliefs in how boys and girls should be raised and behave. Anything that didn't fit this polarized heteronormative binary was perceived as a mental disorder that required treatment in psychiatric hospital and often conversion therapy. Occasionally, information about these topics leaked in society, but only in a negative context. Talk shows would mockingly cover stories like a man who is attracted to other men, a woman who lives with another woman, and a guy who thinks he is a woman. It was always presented by comparing normal people, the word widely used back then, to those inferior and unworthy individuals. There were no support or compassion shown for gay or transgender people. Even these terms were rarely used. Usually they were replaced with derogatory words. I remember the first time when I saw a transgender woman on TV when I was a small child. She told her story about struggling with gender dysphoria, being abandoned by her family, and dreaming of undergoing gender-affirming surgery. No one in the studio showed any support. They were more focused on offering their own theories why this happened and what should society do to change people like her. I still remember her face, her red blouse and black pants, her trembling voice, and the falling tears as she shared her story. It's deeply ingrained in my mind. At the time, I was surprised that such stories could happen in real life, and I felt so sorry for her. But at the same time, I knew I didn't want to be like her. I didn't want to be ashamed in front of others. The irony is, now I'm also sharing my story publicly, and I also have a red blouse, just like hers. I was calm, emotional, and soft child. In my early years, I loved to play with toy cars and construction sets. At the same time, I asked for dolls, and was very happy when I received them. I dressed them up, played mother and daughter games, and even drove them around in toy cars. I knew that boys usually didn't play with dolls, but it didn't bother me. I did it at home where no one but family members could see me, and they responded with a simple phrase, "It's just a phase, it will go." They were almost right, it did go, but only because I forced myself to become the same kind of boys as the others. I tried playing with other boys, but I didn't know how to talk to them. I was always looking for girls to play with them instead. I watched action movies with fight scenes, and even thought about joining karate classes. When my mom took me to karate school, I ran out of the gym in tears after only a couple of minutes. This phase always returned with greater intensity. One day when I was 6, we were preparing to meet my aunt and cousin. My cousin, who was several years older than me, was receiving a dress as a gift from my mom. I saw it and asked, "Why is my cousin getting a dress?" Then came the question that I didn't know how to answer. "So maybe you need one too?" I wanted to say yes, but the way how my mom asked was clearly pointing that answering yes would not be a good idea. I didn't say anything. The most painful moment came when my cousin was giving this dress. I had some brief moments when I was allowed to wear what I wanted, like leggings. But the real blessing came when I entered my grandmother's closet. She let me take her clothes without asking why or embarrassing with unnecessary questions. The only rule was that I had to put everything back in its place. By this time we lived separately from my grandma, but I found ways to visit her frequently. I truly loved her, but I also knew that her closet held a place where I felt safe. Once my grandmother even gave me some clothes to take home and talked to my mom about letting me wear them. Unfortunately, this didn't last long. I couldn't handle stares and dismissive remarks. These microaggressions forced me to suppress myself. It was a difficult period for me, knowing that I shouldn't continue this, but having a strong urge to do so. The solution, it seemed, was to hide both clothes and my feelings. As I continued to suppress myself, guilt and shame began to grow inside me. I knew that good actions shouldn't be hidden, they should be done openly. Following this logic, I began to feel that I was doing something wrong, even though I had been taught to be a good child. Due to my age, I couldn't even imagine that I was showing signs of gender dysphoria. These feelings were fluctuating in intensity, but always persistent. No one knew about the diagnosis or that it could even happen in reality. It was a challenging period for me, and it left a significant mark on my future life. How could my family have helped me? The best help would have been their acceptance and support. I was too afraid to talk to my relatives and tell them directly about my feelings. It would have been a relief if we had talked about my interests, why I preferred talking to girls, and why I liked female clothes and accessories. My closest family members turned a blind eye to it, but this should not have been ignored. There were many signs that I was different from other boys, and they required extra attention. If they had explained why I behave and feel different from other boys, navigating through my teenage years would have been much easier for me. Dismissive looks and hurtful phrases made me feel inferior and taught me how to hide my feelings deep inside. This formed my worldview and made me constantly suppress and control myself. This was one of the reasons why making the decision to start transitioning was so difficult and painful for me. At this early age, no sex hormones were produced, so prescribing puberty blockers was unnecessary, but mental health support was essential. The best possible solution was finding a therapist experienced in working with transgender children. This kind of therapy would have helped me to get rid of guilt and feel accepted and understood. My family also needed counseling. Having a child who doesn't behave like others can be difficult. The initial emotional reaction can be overwhelming, leading to attempts to control the situation. This strategy, however, is not effective and can be harmful for both sides. A child with gender dysphoria can play a role for some time, but in the process, trust and connection with their parents will be lost. On the other hand, adults involved will feel powerless in the face of not being able to change the situation. This can lead to anger and stress. When children and parents are in such a situation, it's crucial to communicate openly without judgment and shame. Kids with gender dysphoria are part of a minority group, and while they may fall out of social norms, it's not bad nor good. It is simply a fact that reflects social statistics. Like any other minority, children with gender dysphoria require extra attention, care, and safe space. The most important space where everything should start is within the family and home. I've shared my early childhood story with you, but you have your own story and journey. In this challenging time for our community, it's important to stay connected and support one another. Feel free to share your own stories and experience in the comments. How did you first realize you're different? How did you cope with gender dysphoria in your childhood? Your visibility and comments are the best support not only for me, but for others in the transgender community. I read every single one of them. Thank you for being with me. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and see you soon in my next video. Bye.